You're hearing me, but you're not feeling me.
We're hitting nothing but dingers here.
Boy, crikey, that's a great point.
Welcome to the Weekly Chaos. We are coming to you at the speed of sound from the Hexapod Soundhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Luke.
I'm Nick.
And I'm DJ Soundcheck.
Big shout out to our returning listeners. And a quick hello to our new friends. Weekly Chaos is a headline news show that's all about variety, being eclectic, and seeing the world from different angles. We don't know where we're going, but we know we're going to get you there faster than you can say.
Follow us on Instagram at Velocity Chaos Pod, Twitter at Velocity Chaos P, and on Facebook. Also, drop us some stars on Apple Podcasts, some love on Spotify, and toss us a sub on YouTube. Thanks as always for your support. Let's do it! All right. It's time for the weekend box office report hosted by the Weekly Chaos. Here we go. Top 5 grossing films across March 31st through April 2nd. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves rolls a critical success for performance in its first weekend with $38.5 million. Number 2, John Wick Chapter 4 Keanu's its way into second with another $28.2 million. Rumor has it that Chapter 5 is back on the table for development after reaching $122.8 million through 2 weeks. His Only Son places $5.5 million on the altar in its opening weekend. With this film about the biblical story of Abraham, the faith-based entertainment company Angel Studios voyages into the theatrical world for the first time. Number 4, Scream 6 wipes its bloody blade off on another $5.3 million in week 4, a split hair away from $100 million cumulative. Number 5, Creed 3 turns in another great round with $5 million in week 5. Cumulative to date is $148.5 million. Just one honorable mention this week, an indie film called 1001 lights up $1.8 million for Focus Features. It's just some kind of coming of age, it seems like, drama from New York City, just kind of like a mother and son kind of story. I'm not sure too much about it, but I mean, 1.8 in a single weekend is pretty good for, and I checked the cast, there's nobody too A-list in it. So it just must have popped out, found its audience, and hit it right where it needed to.
Dungeons & Dragons at the top of the list of the box office.
Keep
I'm going to
it up
hit
there.
you with some Dungeons & Dragons news coming out here.
Nice.
D&D Beyond. They are in the process of releasing a new virtual tabletop system. There's already, if you're on the web playing the game already with your friends across online platforms, you know about Roll20, probably Foundry. Those are two of the main virtual tabletop games. But D&D, or Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast, they're reorganizing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition to be more user-friendly, a little more broad spectrum as far as Dungeons & Dragons goes. And they are putting a lot of time into this virtual tabletop system, and they just released a trailer of the gameplay, and it looks awesome. It's this like 3D crafted world, like you can set up, build whatever you want to, and you actually have these little miniatures that can represent in 3 dimensions and cast these spells, and you can see all the like visual effects. It looks like it's going to be really cool, really promising. Are they taken away from these other platforms that are already built? Yeah, but they created the first platform for everyone to expand off of, and I think it's just going to be goodness for everyone involved.
That sounds awesome because this is one of the applications of the metaverse that I could see really going off with a bang, because you get to kind of go into game mode, you get to experience something maybe on a grander scale. Maybe you have a map the size of a football field and your Dungeons and Dragons campaign happens on that. I could see that being really cool from a virtual headset kind of perspective. So I'd be interested to check out the game footage just to see this cross between almost like an active gameplay and the tradition of Dungeons and Dragons. Are you a traditionalist? I just got to ask really quick. Are you like, do you want to play it on a physical map in your basement, or do you want to do it on the virtual world?
Yeah, I play once a week in the virtual world, but there's nothing like paper, pencil, having miniatures. You don't have to have miniatures, but having a miniature, feeling the roll of the dice, hitting the table, in the cup or whatever you want. But there's nothing like it. Being around, it's really being around at the table with your friends, making a story. There's nothing like it.
That's fair, man. I mean, coming from perspective, I'm not a big card game guy, or as far as tabletop games, I kind of got out of it. But I think we're at a point with technology now that it's not hokey to build these kind of worlds. So it's cool to see that they're still developing digital tabletop gaming. It's like the old Yu-Gi-Oh days where it's like, I was like, I want to see these digital creatures come up. So for me, it's enticing to be. It's more available. You know what I mean? If I wanted to, me and Nick talk about playing D&D that one time. We want to get into it. So if like anything that attracts more of a crowd, I'm for it. So I think it's exciting to hear. But.
Yeah, I think so too. And just to stay in gaming for a minute, I wanted to jump in. One of my favorite games of recent memory was God of War Ragnarok, and I'm getting fired up to play the sequel to that. I played through the original trilogy, and I need to find the expansion to play it. But the interesting thing is in Ragnarok, the theme music is actually composed with Old Norse lyrics, and they have not been translated. So for 5 years, it's remained a mystery of what Bear McCreary was the composer and the lyricist, and he just kind of left it a mystery for those 5 years. But he has just recently released the lyrics in English. And everyone's kind of, wow, these are very sad. Just to give you a quick snippet of it, just some of the lyrics right out of the gate are exiled God, father's shame, mother's hope, child pain. And then it just repeats that. Son of war, truth denied, wounds remain, heal his rage. Like, it's just like very, very just straight up into the canon of this. And yeah, man, he'll leave. I have no redemption. I mean... This is pretty tough. This is dark stuff. This is no Lamb of God lyrics.
No, that's Dio mixed with Cat Stevens right there. Father and son and the Cats in the Cradle, all that good stuff. But that I've actually recently heard some like Viking music, and it's heavy. It is deep. So yeah, music is something either in movies or games. I was just talking to my dad about Nintendo games, and he was like, "Oh, do you remember Master Blaster?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I started like singing the theme song. It's this 8-bit theme song, and I played it for him. He's like, "Yeah, you were actually right." Like, so it's just these memories that music creates, and to have that deep, sorrowful stuff, I'm sure is gonna really emphasize and impact the gameplay while you're playing it.
You got to be careful repeating these lyrics in public if you don't know these Norse languages, because some dude over in the corner is going to be like from a Viking family sitting there. You're like, you're singing about my dad. Oh my God, it hurts. No, seriously, that's so cool. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Shout out to Mikey. Mikey always talks about his passion for games and how there's so much put into these things. So it's cool. It's cool that there's actual lyrics. It's not just nonsense words in a video game, because you could easily just make a tone or whatever. It's like, no, we're gonna make a real song, but it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad.
Yeah. Are they gonna? The question I guess I have is it going to be translated into English lyrics, or is it going to be sung in Norse or Icelandic or whatever Vikings hail?
Yeah, the original one was in old Nordic, and so it's that it's like real deep chest singing. And they're never ever gonna put a version out with English lyrics. They were just releasing the meaning of it in written form. But they said it's coming. It's come back for the sequel, and it will remain in the series. I wouldn't be surprised that when HBO does it, it'll be the theme song when the credits roll. So, because it's become kind of iconic for that father-son kind of relationship for that game.
Okay, I want to move over to people who clearly don't have fathers and are dealing with. Dealing with other creatures that speak different languages. I want to talk about dolphins for a second. So just recently in Hawaii, Hawaii's Division of Conservation has opened up a federal case against 33 swimmers who was harassing dolphins. It's kind of terrible. There's actually a law. There's laws that prohibit anyone from swimming within 50 feet of dolphins, and it's been a recurring occurrence where these swimmers went out in the water, corralled a group of dolphins, and then consistently pursued them while they were in their own grounds, and they got brought out of the water and brought up on federal charges for doing so. And actually, just to poke at how big of a problem this is, a man who goes by the name of Dolphin Dave has been caught repeatedly harassing a humpback whale in a similar region, and has also been brought up on charges. So, again. Don't mess with the wildlife here. Like the fact that people are going out and doing this is absolutely heinous. I mean, just leave the animals alone. Like, go on vacation. This is why people get a bad rap.
The fish are like, yeah, how's it feel? How's it feel? Because dolphins do that. They like create bubble like walls around school of fish and then just like swim through them and eat them. And the fish are just, the mackerels out there just like, get him. You get him good.
I guess.
Also, like I could just picture, could you imagine being like the court clerk that just opens the case against Dolphin Dave? It's like, Dolphin Dave against humpback whale for aggravated sexual assault of a humpback whale. For humping a humpback whale.
Finally, some justice for a humpback whale, Dave. No, not humpback Dave. No, Dolphin Dave. No, finally justice for the dolphins out there.
Yep. No, leave him alone.
Yeah, leave him alone. Leave him alone. That's right. So just staying in nature for 1 second. Everybody knows about the weather down in California. It got kind of crazy this time of year. But the good news is for the region that they are going, they're seeing a lot of restoration of water levels across the state, which is really important. I mean, they have such densely populated areas, and a lot of the water, especially in Southern California, is diverted from reservoirs and lakes. And the largest reservoir in Southern California, Diamond Valley Lake, was restored or will be restored after 3 years of declining levels. Water flowed into the lake at 600 cubic feet per second. There are pipes and waterways down into the lake from Northern California as well. So it's just like flowing in. They figure by the fall it'll be fully restored. And it was a lot of water. The lake is 110,000 acre feet. I didn't know this was a term. And an acre foot contains about 360,000 gallons of water. So I did the quick math, and that's like 291 billion gallons of water go into this lake. And
Jesus Christ.
exactly. So that's cool. And that's a lot of water. It's good that it happened naturally. They're not stealing it from other places. But thankfully, Southern Cal, they'll be able to drink water this fall.
Yeah, I think Lizzo said it best. It's about damn time. Finally getting some water going in there. Unfortunately, it was all at once. So the kind of devastation of either floods or anything like that might be occurring. That's unfortunate. But I know there was so much snow on the mountains that they'll probably be good for some long time. They'll probably be snowing, well into October, or not. They'll probably be snowboarding well into October is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Dude, I mean, this is a good thing, though. If you guys have been to California at all in the last couple of years, I know I tell you guys all my stories. That place is so turbulent. I mean, it's to see. I went there after the wildfires a few years ago. I mean, there's wildfires all the time, I know. But just to see a place that's just totally roasted, entire mountainsides of just nubbins of what was left over of plants.
Yeah.
I was like, why is there just brown ash everywhere? It's, oh yeah, because this entire state was on fire. I mean, I'm sure
Rough.
it caused some hell, but for over the last couple of weeks. But that's a small price to pay to like rejuvenate what should be there. So
Yeah.
I mean, good for them.
I think it definitely got to the point where they would complain every once about rain because what it does to the highways, it makes them slicker and all that.
Yeah.
But I think they got to the point where, because I go, or like, is this bothersome to you in your commute? And they're like, we'll take anything. We'll take anything. Any precipitation, take it. We'll take it.
So dry over here.
Just SpongeBob, like just like
Water. Oh, man. Speaking of dryness, dry hands are coming into play here in this story. A little technology. Panera Bread is rolling out hand scanner technology. So that is, we already have biometric stuff. Amazon has it. Your phones have it. Apple, Samsung, Google's, all that stuff. They're taking all of our information. Amazon's getting into lawsuits from some, certain countries because, the countries are saying, you are unauthorized to take this information, or you're not letting people know that you're taking this biometric information and storing it. But Panera, they're moving ahead with their hand scanning. You can pay by scanning your hand. We're getting to the future of payments now, so it's just all gonna be biometric. People are gonna be chopping people's hands off and using that for making transactions. We are getting to a crazy futuristic world, and we're just going to everyday fast food joints now is on the bottom of the totem pole. I mean, it's going to be everywhere, which to me is kind of scary. But is that what we're supposed to be doing? Is that the future we want?
COVID. Just Panera's response to COVID is like, all right, we're going to touch everything. We're going to touch everything in this store. You must lick this to pay for your bread.
Saliva payments now.
How have you been in a Panera like recently? There's always an old dude causing a problem, and just guess what, Panera? You got one new old dude that's gonna cause a problem because I'm gonna be in there in the future when you guys are. I'm gonna pay for my soup, but it's gonna throw change at you. Like he's throwing the blooms. What is going on? No, I'm not doing it. I'm not about this. Get out of here with all that. You guys can have it. You're not scanning my fingers for nothing. I know you guys, everyone's like, yeah, I already have your information. Well, guess what? I'm not making it a point to hand it out. Okay?
They just hold up like the pay spittoon and it's like, please spit in this. Just a payment processed.
$9.95. Please insert more spittoon.
No, DJ Soundcheck, you bring up a good point, though, because I just went to the movies. It was like dinner in a movie type thing where you can scan QR code and they'll come and give you food or whatever after you buy it. But old guy sat next to me is like, do you pay outside or what? And I'm like, oh, damn, do you want to use my phone? He's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. And his wife, it was, choose your own seating, and there wasn't many, but his wife ended up ordering him something.
I'm definitely like full Apple Pay at this point. The convenience just is so good, and the cards get beat up less over time. So I don't know about the biometric thing because I do agree. People, how do you rob somebody now? I mean, it gets violent. So I'd say, because everyone's like, well, it's added security because how many people are going to chop off hands? It's like, do we really want to find out?
Yeah. Jeez. Well, I mean, that's why there's some people trying to leave this world. So I guess the tech continues, and it's continuing with NASA because I want to take it over to space travel, where NASA has been working on their Artemis missions. They plan in the future to do another lunar landing. That's coming. Luke, I know he tried to debunk the lunar landing at one point, but we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it for real. But the Artemis II missions has just released their new crew, or their selected crew, rather, and it's made up of 3 Americans, Victor Glover, Christina Hammock, coach, and Reed Weissman, as well as 1 Canadian member, Jeremy Hansen, who will be joining the team. So that was a huge bit of space news this week. The Artemis II mission will not be a lunar landing. It'll be a lunar flyby to test the return mission for future Artemis missions. So that's what they're going to do. And one big thing of note is their one pilot will actually be the first person of color to be piloting the spacecraft as well as land on the moon in the future. So
wow.
That's a huge note in the space community.
It's a long time coming, I think, right there. But that's great. Is he that guy who's like super accomplished? He's like a doctor as well. Yeah. I thought one of those astronauts, or military service, I think.
Well, one of the big things is he's logged, like, I think it's over 150 plus days in the International Space Station. So he's just putting in all that work for when we're space lords.
Check his bone density, 100 half a year up there. We got to check that, keep those vitals in check. But this is we're 60 years out. What I don't know. 50 years out. I don't remember when we was 1969 somewhere in the early 70s was the last time allegedly we went to the moon. And so this is half a century too late. I'm saying we have this advanced technology. They should be able to do it in a day. Real quick process. Why aren't we teleporting up there already?
We'll finally get back and we can prove there's a rod in there. Harkening back to our conspiracy theory episode, and we can debunk all the things that have been bunked. I'm looking forward to this. I just think space exploration, it is the final frontier. Star Trek is becoming a documentary, and I think it'll be really cool to see a flyby. A little disappointing. I want to see it on the moon again. But we'll get there, right?
That is. I mean, it's going to be amazing to see out of this world finally once again. You know what else is out of this world? March Madness here. We're coming down to the close of it. This is the first time in a long time that people are actually talking about women's basketball. This is getting crazy out there. But let's get into the real story. A 5 seed made it to the finals of March Madness men's tournament. And what did I say a few weeks ago? A 5 seed has never won the tournament. This is the chance tonight. As of recording this, we'll see. Maybe we'll be live. Maybe we'll do 2 takes here real quick. Oh my God, a 5 seed won! That's incredible.
What the hell? That's crazy.
See, I told you a 5 seed would never win the tournament. So if you did bet on that, that's on you. You shouldn't have. You should have listened to me.
Stupid.
Or you shouldn't have listened. I don't know. I'm just some guy, but we're getting down to the business here with March Madness.
I do want to check the odds for that. Because what do you do? Would you take the bet for that team losing because of the historical nature of it? Or do you bet for it and the historical nature gives you the boost? I don't know. But I think it comes down to, I know a lot of people who had kids who went to UConn, so they're all up in the air about this. And a lot of people are sending me photos of like this dog or this dog. It's like the dog they own and then the blue husky from UConn. And like this week, the blue dog.
Yeah.
I'm just cheering for the underdog. That's it. I'm just cheering for them. Let's go.
God,
Win it. Mess up
5.
some odds. Mess up some odds at Vegas, boys.
San Diego coming in hot. San Diego versus UConn in the final Monday. It already happened by the time you're hearing this. You let us know how you feel. It's going to happen fast. You know what else is happening fast? Baseball's happening fast this year. The pitch clocks are in, and the verdict is in. I did some little bit of research here. So last year, opening day, well, they didn't do all the games on opening day, but all the first games of all the teams, they were calculated how quickly they played last year.
Okay.
Average of 3 hours and 17 minutes per game. Okay, you think about 3 hours for a game of baseball. That's average. This year, with the pitch clock, okay, and I'm going to keep in mind there was 2 games that scored 19 runs, which is a ton for baseball, and 1 game that scored 18 runs, which is a ton for baseball.
Yeah.
So that happened. No extra inning games, though. The average time was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Half hour quicker with this pitch clock in here. You add up a half hour over an entire season, that's 81 hours of time you're getting back. And you're getting more action, more runs scored. I like the change. Oh, one last thing before I pitch it over to these guys. I watched a couple games, and when there was I don't know if it's going to go across the entire league, but when there was a full count, and the pitch clock was winding down, the crowd was chanting like 10, 9, 8. So it's like the pitcher's getting, damp and sweaty. So it's like it's transversing or wrestling, and just it's a beautiful thing. I feel like the crowd's getting, if you can have something for the crowd to get into, you have something great.
Listen, man, I'm gonna take this one for all my middle-aged homies out there, okay? And I'm gonna revert my last excitement about it. How the hell are we supposed to hide from our families and drink beer on a weekday, a weekend, on a Wednesday when I'm hiding from my boss? If the baseball game's gonna burn 45 minutes off it, okay? I need to get in 3 more Busch Lights, okay? You're just killing my schedule here, because now I got to go back, and I haven't come down from my buzz yet. So I think this terrible thing. It's a travesty. Go back, get rid of the time clock. Let's go. It's an American tradition, and you're messing with it. You know what you did.
You know what you did.
All right, take it.
No, I like it. No, that's a good take. That's a zesty view right there for sure. I think this is cool. I think especially the crowd. I think baseball might have just slingshotted by what you said, slingshotted with like the crowd involvement. Because in football games, you can sway depending on the home team's involvement for sure. But in baseball, I mean, it could be a completely different story if the crowd is really getting into that pitcher's head, or the batter's head for that matter, of just like, they'll find ways of doing it. I think the coolest thing to come out of this is the antics, the really passive aggressiveness of the pitchers. I don't know if you saw like the really long windups that take 8 seconds to do, just because the last call, you have to make eye contact with the batter apparently to make it real. And he threw the ball and the batter wasn't set. And so they are trying to, like, the umps are trying to make it at least fair, but he got called on a fast pitch. And then the next pitch, his foot was up for at least 8 seconds before he ripped it.
Hold it.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing with the time clock is, think about basketball for a second. Before there was a shot clock in basketball, you just had white guys dribbling around, like scoring 2 points and then dribbling in the corner for 10 minutes at a time, trying to keep away. So let's speed these games up. We need the entertainment.
That's a great point. That's a fantastic point. I can't believe I didn't hear that earlier. Guys, I have a story here. Millions of Brazilians, that's with an O, Brazilians, Brazilians. I could go on and on with this, but it's a bit of a hereditary article. Just over 3 years ago in January, these 2 entrepreneurs were picked up in the airport. They were carrying bags of gold nuggets, like gold bars, just through the airport. Essentially, they went down to Brazil during the surge back in like 2019, 2020. There was a surge on gold, especially during the pandemic. And they went down to just like buy a bunch of physical gold in exchange for currency and then just bring it back to the U.S. And they were stopped at the airport in Brazil. It became a big thing. They were searching the bags. They were like, where did you get this? Who are you? Who are you, Marty Bird? It's like basically an episode of Ozark down there. And they were carrying $1.4 million of gold in these 4 bags just to get on the plane. They're carry-ons. And
they bought the gold?
They bought it. They bought it all legitimately. But the problem is that the article goes deeper than this. And the gold trade is so illicit. And a lot of the gold is illegally mined out of the rainforests and natural preserves, land preserves in Latin America. They're also highly linked to cartel activity because they use it as a currency. You can't track it. It's harder to track gold, just bullion. So especially if you melt it down and reshape it or you do whatever with it. So that's where the suspicion came in. Who are these 2 guys? They weren't big high profiles. They had a small little company that was just essentially buying gold. Sponsors would give them a bunch of money. They buy it and bring it back. And they've just been suing each other ever since. That's really been the case here, is that they essentially had a falling out after the whole debacle in Brazil. And they've both been trying to get the money, the liability back from the other guy or from the investors. And they've just been suing each other in various U.S. immigration offices. And it's just been real debacle. But I think the big win out of this is everyone being cognizant of the environmental effects of metal mining and even precious metal mining, and how, the rainforests are just under threat from so many different angles. I also think it's only a matter of time before this becomes a movie, because it's kind of a crazy, ridiculous story.
Yeah. I think that's like one of those things that's been becoming more and more common is, people, what I call country jumping. Like they're just going to other countries and finding ways to, like, again, through immigration from their country or however they emigrate is to get a profit from doing so. Like Nigeria has these backdoor bank schemes where you can go get money from your country's embassy that the country just has to put on credit and just give you. And that's a big thing right now. Like the U.S., there's a lot of people from the U.S. who are like traveling to Nigeria, and I just heard about that the other day, that people are getting all this money and then it just sits on like Nigerian credit with the embassy. So like it's really hurting people's economies. Plus you get people who are more corporate invested or do this in mass and hire people to do it. So it's actually a huge problem for the shift of money in the world, honestly. So.
Yeah, Nigerians are probably getting all their money from scams, all those emails back in the early 2000s about Nigerian princes, then getting people's account information. That's how they got all this extra money. But
I still haven't heard back from that guy.
Yeah. I'm going to take a trip out there and try to find him. But yeah, the exchange rate for these bullions must be pretty dang high to be risking so much. And like you guys are saying, the rainforests, we got to protect them to some degree. Yeah. Same thing with the oceans. Like, if we start clearing out everything, dirtying up everything, we're not going to have anywhere to live after a while. Or at least, we'll be fine, but the future people, well, we're fine. Forget about it.
You mean those things called kids?
Yeah, they'll deal with it.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with today's kids, all right? I want to talk about kids, or people who deal with kids right now. And this brings me to my point for our future generations, is an Amherst bus driver, taken to a little local news. Amherst is right down the road from us. Just resigned after she had an incident on her school bus. And she has been a bus driver for years. She's driven for different companies and school districts. What had happened is these kids have been, like a specific group of kids were messing with her on her bus, poking fun at her, doing things to harass her while she's driving, which is dangerous in and of itself. And she finally reached her limit. And this story is big because it went viral on TikTok of her cussing out this group of kids and basically giving them what for. Because as she states in the video, she says, I have tons of fabulous kids. Most of my kids are amazing. She goes, I have a specific group of kids that choose to act out consistently and do things to, one, distract from me and make it a worse bus ride for the other kids. And she went as far to say things that I'm gonna stick my foot so far up your ass that it's gonna dangle from your mouth.
Brilliant.
Jackie Miller, we appreciate you because honestly, hey, come on, Jackie.
Yep.
Come on, Jackie.
Someone's got to tell him.
She did resign. She the incident follows after a couple weeks straight of she has severe asthma. The kids were purposely spraying these perfumes that she is allergic to, and she had an asthma attack on the bus prior. There was prior events. These kids have been disciplined for things, but the town kind of got behind her and said, hey, like, we support you. They made like T-shirts with what she said on it, and she said, look, she says, I apologize for how I reacted. She goes, but I won't. She's like, I won't take it back either. She says because she says, look, there's good kids, and sometimes you just you just gotta tell them what's up. So
I got a zesty view on that one just because I read another story. We should have almost covered it, but a woman is suing some school district up in the like Northeast, and essentially a first grader came into school with a gun and shot her. A first grader. And she kept telling the principal, kids keep telling adults that kid has a gun. Wow. And what's going on with Jackie here is like, nobody is telling kids what's right and wrong anymore. Everyone's taking a step back. It's too risky. We don't want to get involved. We don't want to get in trouble, right? And I think adults are being pushed to their natural limit because no one's backing them up. And so they're left to fend with kids. I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was Chris Rock or somebody. Kids are the worst people on the planet. Yeah. They are the meanest, worst kids on the planet. And it was just, it's getting unleashed on the world. So I think it's good for bus drivers like this to stand up, especially if there's health issues involved or the safety of other children. Because if you're a parent and and your kid is a good kid or a quiet kid or a kid that's maybe fun but not like jeopardizing everybody else on the bus, and what if that bus goes off the road, those kids get killed? Wouldn't you want that bus driver or somebody along the way to try to manage the situation a little bit and save, other people from that kind of fate? So I don't know. I just think that some stiffness needs to return to the school systems of just telling kids, hey, like, knock it off. And if you don't come back.
Yeah.
I don't, no child left behind to an extent.
Yeah. No, yeah, we got no child left behind because you gotta get him into place. You gotta punch him in the stomach a few times, maybe in the ribs, have him crippled over in the corner while everyone else gets to have fun because they're being a little shit. That's the bottom line. Jackie probably did what's right in the situation. Right in these days, it's looked down upon, and everyone's so happy that they're no one wants to do anything. Like you said, no one wants to correct the behavior, and we're just putting ourselves in a worse situation for the future. And it really ticks me off that all these little kids are being assholes. Yeah. That's all it is. It's
yeah. And I gotta chime in one last time on this, and I'll keep it tight. But this is one of those lessons where I think we need to push. It's like taking care of our environment as well, but be kind. Just straight up be kind. I was one of those kids that had a tough time in middle school. Middle schoolers are a tough age to deal with. Yeah. And they and not all kids are bad. I mean, shout out D. Trobender. Shout out Miss Sharon from the RTA. I used to ride the RTA bus when there was a school bus because I didn't like my other bus driver. And this woman, Miss Sharon, took me in every day, told me stories, and like really just taught me about being a kind person and how impactful that is. Like to this day, I think about these people all the time. And I mean, that's one thing where respecting your elders is something that I think is not in just an old fashioned sense. You just got to be good to your elders. It's like, no, you don't know what these people can offer you. And honestly, those are people that change lives. They're not just your teachers. They're, those are the heroes that don't wear capes. So, yeah, be kind to everybody.
Yeah. That's the system for a reason. I bet you all those kids were floss dancing, Luke.
I know. They deserved it. They really did. And they're going to cause more accidents if they're causing Jackie to have asthmatic attacks. Yeah. Like it's going to be more problems. So these kids, they need to be punished, villainized. They need to walk to school with signs saying I'm an asshole, and that's their future for the rest of the year, maybe even into next year.
Yeah.
Just to get them in check.
Forget a dunce cap. I'm an asshole t-shirts. Well, somebody who did stick up for themselves, I wanted to bring this up. I thought this was one of my favorite stories from the week. Gwyneth Paltrow, she went in and she kicked ass in her own way. She was being sued by this guy, Terry Sanderson. I think last year they were out on a ski slope, and he claims that she ran into his back, causing permanent injuries. she knew her story. She had it down pat, airtight. And so she filed a countersuit because she knew that she was right. And good on her for that. So she showed up in court, had quite a bit of quippy banter with both the prosecuting lawyers and her defense lawyers, and basically just told it like it was. And clearly, she was in the right from the get-go. It was not a long trial. It was not dragged out too long. And she was awarded her requested $1 of restitution. And that was all she asked for, because I guess the price of being right is worth it sometimes in and of itself. And I think she's a really classy person. Yeah. So, and this is amazing for her brand because now everybody's talking about it. And she just finished it off with this incredible flourish of kind of sportsmanship or sportswomanship in this case, and just being like clever, but also throwing the Paltrow dagger, man. On her way out of the courtroom, she like leans over to the guy, Terry, touches his shoulder and just goes, "I wish you well."
Ooh,
that's nice.
And she's out. And she's out.
Yeah, she's got FU money, so she's fine with that. It's just about being right. It's the principle of the matter in the situation. She's starting a modern lifestyle brand. She's got Goop on her side. She doesn't need money. That dollar is just that little cherry on top. Have a nice day.
Yeah, man. No one messes with Pepper Potts, okay? Don't you mess with Pepper.
Well, you're like that. You're like, if somebody pisses you off and you see them in a bar, you go over and buy them a beer.
Oh, well, yeah.
And you're like, here, have this beer. And they're like, no, I'm good. It's like, no, if you don't drink it, you're an asshole. Like,
I learned that from my brother. Shout out Brent. I mean, yeah, you just gotta. There's something about that's almost like a Southern thing. It's just like, I'll pray for you. You know what I mean? Like,
oh gosh,
nothing's gonna make you feel sicker than somebody taking the high road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Is that why you buy me so much beer?
You drink that beer. Drink
it. Yeah, I've been broken up with by pastor kids before, pastor daughters. I'll pray for your soul.
Yeah, I already took it from you.
Oh man, that's got my sweet tooth going. So I want, if you guys got a sweet tooth here for the Easter season, come on down to the Sweetest Sweetie Sweets and try some of her sweet treats. That's right, at the Sweetest Sweetie Sweet, her sweet treats are on display for all to indulge in. Put your scuba gear on and prepare to dive in to the sweet of Sweetie Sweet Sweets for all to enjoy her sweet treats. It's the only sweet you can enjoy sweet treats at. Sweet treats are the sweetest treats on this side of Sweet Street. So many sweets to sample, lollipops to lick, chocolates to chow. The sweet of sweet treats has them all. When you're checking out, remember to say, I have an itch on my VC sweet tooth to the cashier for a free 6-pound bag of sweets free. This is not an actual product, service, or idea. Just in case you thought it was, it's not. If there is something out there with the same name, we're unaware, have no affiliation, offer no judgment on the actual product, service, or idea. And that takes us right into our clickbait headline segment of the show. Nick, DJ, sound check. A woman robs a convenience store with a staff.
Yep. Yeah, she does.
Yep.
All right. So a woman who's a descendant of Bumblebee Snosbort in New Zealand, throwback to our last season of the show. No, she's like the resident wizard of Wichita, Kansas or something like that. And she's got to get a specific thing for a brew to save a child who's got pneumonia. And so she runs into a store, doesn't have time to pay for it. She forgot. They don't have palm scanning yet there in Wichita, Kansas. And so she just robs it with her staff and is out and saves the kid's life.
Humble, wholesome, nice. DJ Soundcheck.
I think she just came from another like competing store, and she brought her entire staff with her and said, "What are they gonna do? Arrest us all?" And she took the entire staff with her. It's a play on words.
That's nice. that is a play on words, because a woman robs a gas station with staph infection.
Yeah. Oh,
this is a classic. I just came back upon this. This is a classic Cleveland story. 10 years ago, a woman I won't name her, but we'll post the link so you can do your research if you want to. But she was going in the store, taking a bunch of candy, stuffing it in her bags and in her shirt and stuff. And the owner's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she had staph infection, like an open wound, and threatened the guy. She said, "Stay back. I have staph." And then, they get the cops called on and they identify her. She gets taken in eventually. But yeah, that is the story of the woman robbing a store with staph infection.
Oh, man. I want an eye for an eye. That's where eye for an eye punishment should be brought back. If she gets taken to jail, they should give her staph. Yeah. Again. Again. Jeez.
Don't be a hero, mate. You look after your mates, and your mates will always look after you. Yeah, cheers.
Yes, cheers indeed. Let's head down to Australia for our Australian news segment here. I got another fun one here. We have a cow, not plastic. Yeah, I guess it's a plastic cow. Plastic cow that fiberglass. Excuse me. Byford residents woke up to find a fiberglass heifer on top of Vibe service station, a gas station. So you wake up in the morning, you're driving to the petrol station, and you see a heifer on the roof of the Vibe. How do you feel about that? That's a sight to behold, isn't it? So that they thought it was an April Fool's joke, but they found, this is actually a finding too. They found the missing muesli. That's right, muesli, a local icon of a primary school. It was in the Byford Primary School Memorial Garden last year. They've been looking for her for about a year, and they're just wondering how muesli got up on the roof because they don't know who put her up there, but they needed a crane to get her off. So that's some hijinks going on right there.
Jeez.
Sorry, I'm looking it up because you remember, I guess this is just a tradition or some weird thing that happens in Australia. But remember that last year we covered that Aussie news story where that cow got stolen from the family's property, the cow statue of that one?
Is that the same cow?
No, it's different because yours is outside an elementary school.
Yeah.
This was on a private property. People just must think it's hilarious to steal statues. Bessie. They're probably best friends. They're probably pen pals.
Yeah.
Man, Australians, calm down, guys. If you see a cow statue, leave it be. Let it lie. Come on.
That just goes to show you in life, you can have all the milk in the world, but if you can get the cow for free, why are you going to pay for the milk? And if you can steal the cow and put it on a roof, why wouldn't you? That's just part of life, because when you're rolling for your criticals and you're flying high, feeling like you're a million billions out in the world, or you're skiing down a slope and some guy's kicking you off the bus because you're causing her asthma attacks, that's we got problems. We're going to send you off into outer space because we can't handle that madness here. March is over. No more madness. The madness stops here because we're going to start palm reading, and not in the psychic kind of way. We're cutting off hands for problems. Eye for an eye. Code of Hammurabi. That's going to happen. It's starting now. And the timer is counting down second by second, and the crowd is loving it. And when it all comes down, it's just gonna rain. It's gonna keep on raining. The world's gonna keep on spinning. And I wish you well. I really do.
All right. That does it for this episode of the Weekly Chaos. It's been great. These headlines were flying off the shelves. I want to thank DJ Soundcheck for getting us on the audio levels today.
Hey, man, thanks for letting me dial it all in with you guys today.
Really appreciate you being here and all the work that you bring to the show. Everybody, make sure to follow us on the Instas, on the Twitters, on the whatever social media platform you're on. We're likely there. It's good to hear from you guys. And, hey, we're just having a fun time, but we are looking for those subs. So hit us up. We'll see you on the next one. This is Nick signing off.
And this is Luke signing off. Make sure if you are listening to us on a audio device, set those to download so we get notification. If you just listen, we don't get notified. But if you download it, we get the stats and we can keep on bringing the good stuff. Thank you guys once again. And like we always say, where's Bessie? Check the roof. Have a good one.
That was the Weekly Chaos, brought to you by the Velocity Chaos Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in and getting your weekly dose of news updates. Make sure to check us out on all your favorite social media platforms at Velocity Chaos Pod and podcast at velocitychaos.com. As always, we appreciate your support. Please tell a friend, and thank you once again.